Hi everyone, I'm going to continue my series on Grandmaster Miniatures today with Peter Svidler against Loek van Wely, which was played in the Chorus tournament in Wickenzie in 2005. Okay, so it started out with e4, c5, this is setting defense, knight f3, knight c6, and then knight c3, which is a move designed to disencourage the Sveshnikov variation, since after, for example, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight takes c6, b takes c6. This position is well respected at top level play for the player with the white pieces. So knight c3 is designed to disencourage that. To this, Van Wely replied e5, which is immediately trying to take advantage of white not playing d4 on his third move. In the resulting position that we have in the game here, white intends to exploit d5, which is, a bad weakness after these pawns have moved forward. White's got a pawn here, so it's an outpost square, and at the same time develop a kingside play with the pawn break f4. Black will aim to finish development and exchange on d5 if white starts moving his pieces there with threats. So the game continued, bishop c4, again reinforcing d5. And after bishop e7, d3, d6, knight e2, which looks unusual, but it's the most common in recent years. Although castling and knight f6, knight e5, black castling and f4 is also popular. So after knight d2, there was bishop g5, and here what black has, the idea he's got in mind is to trade off this dark square bishop for his dark square bishop, because seeing as these pawns are on dark squares, it's a bad bishop. But it's a bit dodgy, because after Svidler played h4, black has to make an awkward decision now. For example, if he plays bishop h6, then queen h5, g6, queen d1, knight f6 and knight f1. Black's king is weakened, and white has h5 coming up here, which will be a strong attacking move. So in order to avoid that, black played bishop takes d2, resigning the bishop pair, which is a concession really. It didn't decide the game, but it's a small advantage, and usually in order to win a game of chess you accumulate small advantages, and so white already has one advantage. And anyway, the game continued, knight f6, castles, and bishop g4, which is a dubious move. Better was bishop e6, and after f4, bishop takes c4, d takes c4, h5. This line had been played earlier in 2005 between Kasparov with the white pieces and Peter Leko with the black pieces, and Leko drew easily, so it's okay. Another possibility was castling, but then after f4, white will have good attacking chances. So the first option there is better really, and the right move to play, as opposed to bishop g4. Here Svidler played queen e1, which is a novelty at the time. In earlier games he played f3 and then usually followed bishop e6 and f4, still with a good attack, but it's all a theory, and being grandmasters they would both know about these lines, and perhaps queen e1 was something that Svidler had prepared. And it's a strong move, and it causes Van Wely problems over the board. Queen moves really change the course of the game and the variations and the way you have to think about everything fairly drastically, even if the queen's only moving one square. And Van Wely suffered as a result of this. He played bishop e6, which was definitely wrong. Better in this situation was knight d4, and after rook c1, bishop f3, and queen e3. Like if he takes here, then the knight will recapture and pick up the queen. So queen e3, queen d7, and bishop b5, which is stronger than g takes f3, because queen h3 gives black good attacking chances. For example, after knight b5, then knight takes f3 check, and the queen has to recapture, and black should win fairly easily. So after bishop b5, then knight takes b5, queen takes f3, knight d4, queen g3, and castling. and it's a fairly unclear position and pretty equal. White still retains a small edge, but it's much better than the game continuation, which was after bishop e6, f4, and bishop takes c4, d takes c4, h5, which is attempting to secure g4 for the knight, and it seems logical, but it's too slow really as a strategy. Like other possibilities were castling, but after rook d1, knight d4, f takes e5, knight g4, queen g3, knight takes e5, white has at least a slight advantage. After bishop h6, knight g6, bishop e3. Another possibility instead of h5 was h6, but again white will have at very least a small advantage after that continuation. Probably his best hope here was queen d7 and then castling queenside, and it should be fairly equal. But anyway, he didn't go for that. He played h5, and after f takes e5, d takes e5, came bishop g5, and now we're seeing the some of the ideas anyway behind the novelty move queen e1, because if the queen had been on d1 now, or if the other continuation had been played, then the queen would be on d1 as well, and the queens would come off, and a lot of pressure would go from black's position. And in the board as it is now, white's building up big initiative, and here black crumbles with knight e7, which is a losing move essentially. Other possibilities were queen d4 check, king h1, queenside castling, and not queen takes c4, because after bishop takes f6, g takes f6, rook d1, knight d4, rook takes f6, queenside castling, b3, queen b4, knight d5, queen takes c1 check, rook takes c1. Black has a difficult endgame, and it's probably in fact a losing endgame, so that's not the way to go. After castling in this variation, castling would be the right move, and then b3, queen d7, knight d5 is a well, it's going to win a pawn at least on f6, but there's still dangerous threats, and white again has a much better position, so it's not really preferable either. But anyway, the game continuation after knight e7 was rook d1, and now white's finished development with tempo on the queen, and it's a very strong move. Van Wely played queen b6, which is the best square really for the queen, although it's starting to look pretty dire for black. His king's trapped in the center, and yeah, he's in trouble. But queen b6 is better than, say, for example, queen a5, because then rook takes f6 will win immediately. After g takes f6, bishop takes f6, rook g8, bishop takes e7, king takes e7, and knight d5 check picks up the queen. So queen b6 was better. And then came queen g3, which is crushing really. The e5 pawn is falling, and black's king is in trouble. His rook strong on the d file. Van Wely tried knight g6, but after bishop takes f6, g takes f6, knight d5 is completely winning for white. Van Wely tried queen takes b2, but after knight takes f6 check, king f8, and knight takes h5, he resigned because he's losing here. For example, well, if he takes the knight, then queen takes g6, leaves him a rook up after black has to defend the mate threat, and this rook will fall, and white's position is just completely dominant. Another possibility after knight takes h5, and how the game might continue, and why Van Wely probably resigned, is, say for example, king g8, then rook takes f7 is decisive. After king takes f7, rook to d7 check, king e8, knight f6 check, king f8, and queen takes g6. It's an unstoppable attack. So a great game from Svidler. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.